Perfect. Wait, you're on mute. I'm sorry. Perfect.
Hey, thank you. It's your girl Alma T, and I'm so excited to be here with you today, everyone. Welcome to Touche Life on this special episode that we're doing. I'm going to introduce my two guests in just a moment, but I want you to know that this is our Women of Excellence series. And with us, we're going to have some inspiring women throughout this series that are and have been doing amazing things, not only in the community, but in their life, a true inspiration. And it's going to honor both Black History Month as well as Women's Appreciation Month. And I couldn't think of anyone else I had to make sure that I had on my list other than this young lady and her amazing great grandmother that you're about to meet. And so, without further ado, this is Alma T at Touche Life. Right after the intro, we're going to go ahead and meet these two women. Stand by.
Here at Touche Life, it's not just a podcast, respectfully. We talk about all things life, but we also connect to make a difference.
And we're back. Welcome again to Touche Life, where we're celebrating women of excellence. I want to take this time. I had the opportunity, it's been about a month ago, and I met this young lady at somewhat of a networking event. And she told us a little bit about her business, which you're going to hear about. And she looks like a teenager. But when she opens her mouth, all of this power, all of this authority, all of this anointing, all of this compassionate humanitarian and passion flows out of her, and it just encapsulates you. And I was like, oh no, no. I got to find a way to connect with her because she warmed my heart with her very first conversation. And so without further ado, I would like for this amazing young lady, Miss Breshia, to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about you and just about your amazing journey. I want you to start with that. Just tell us a little bit about you and what you love, why you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for that amazing intro. I definitely am so grateful to be here and to be on your platform. And I do have my beautiful great grandmother here with me. And
Woo!
woo,
It's a birthday girl in the house. It's a birthday girl in the
yes,
house. Let's just
yes,
take a moment and shout out the birthday.
yes. She is in her 80s. And so
Mm,
she is
a
an
blessing.
ancestor, and she is here, and we are celebrating her today. But I am also the CEO of BInfluence Inc. BInfluence Inc. is a children's sewing program, a community that provide resources to underserved communities and help
Mm,
provide sewing sources to everyone in those communities. We provide sewing programs through curriculum. We do group sessions. We do camps. We do it all. We are bringing fashion back into our community and making sure that these children have practical skills, character development, financial literacy. And so that is just a little bit about BInfluence. What made me start with BInfluence and the inspiration behind fashion was no other than my great grandma. Growing up, I would see her at the table just hand sewing. She would be hand sewing. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm
oh,
in your clothes. You said they don't fit. And so when I got a little bit older enough to hand sew myself, she would teach me how to hand sew pillows. We would sew up the couch together, and it was just like a bonding experience that I would never forget. And with that, it sparked my interest for fashion. I was so fascinated by how she would just take a needle and thread and really create this entire piece that you can walk out the house with. And one time I remember in high school when I had bought something. It was an extra large. I've always been a small girl, always been very
mhm,
petite, but I bought
mhm,
it extra large because I just wanted to test her. I'm like, she can't really altar things. Like, I want to buy a wood.
Ah,
Yeah. And I was like, Grandma, can you take this in for me? And she was like, try it on. And she pinned me and she sat at the table and I watched her hands sew it. And I was just so grateful. I was so fascinated. I was so amazed. Like, she really just turned something extra large and made it extra small. I was like, this is incredible. I want to do this for myself, because when she altered my clothes and made them fit me, it didn't just fascinate me how she was doing it, but it gave me confidence as a woman to walk out the house and be bold in who I am and my style.
yes.
With that, it just sparked everything that I have now with BInfluence, and we're taking that same inspiration back into our community and placing it in our children, planting the seeds and growing a bigger community in the fashion industry for our culture.
I absolutely love it. I love it. And I was fidgeting around with the camera because I wanted a close up. I need y'all to see homegirl got her crown on, and I'm a crown for my birthday girl. And I just wanted to get a close up of you. So forgive me for fidgeting, but I wanted to just have us all up in your space because we're all up in your heart. That was beautiful, Breshia. And without further ado, the lady of the hour,
Lady
Miss
of the
Evelyn Filler. It's Filler, correct?
Filer.
Filer.
Do you know
Filer.
I'm Alma Filer?
No.
Oh, you guys'
I'm
cousin.
Alma Filer. And but by marriage, by marriage.
Mhm.
And when I first saw the name, I said, huh?
I am a filer by marriage.
Oh, we'll talk after.
Mhm.
That might be another show. But hello, Miss Evelyn Filer. It is a pleasure to meet you and to honor you. And the first thing that came out of your great grandbaby's mouth when we talked about it, and I said, what got you into, fashion? It's all about you. It's all about you. So I want you to know we're here today because it's all about you. We
It
want a
is.
chance to honor you and to show you. And I was very close with my grandmother, Alma, who I'm named after. So I can imagine the bond. I can imagine and I know the influence of being able to sit at the feet of your matriarch, if
Mhm.
you will.
Yes.
And someone who has lived a life as full of yours, because 80 years is a long time. That's a blessing from the
Oh,
Lord.
what
He
you
said
say?
70 and 80 by reasonable strength. And so you are truly blessed, and it's a privilege to be in your presence. And I want to ask you, you know, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey with fashion. How did you get involved in fashion 80 years ago?
Well, it was like every time I saw something on somebody, I would
Hmm.
want it, but I didn't want it to look exactly like theirs.
That's it. That was it right there. That was it.
And I used to watch my grandmother. She used to make her own sheets and stuff like that, pillowcases.
Mhm.
I used to watch
Okay.
her all the time, and so I bought some material, and I
Yes.
designed and took some newspaper and designed me a style that I wanted for myself because I don't want nobody to dress like me.
That's
And
right.
after I cut it out, I decided to, okay, I get this material and I laid the paper on the material and I cut it out and I hand sewed it.
Oh, you hand sewed newspaper,
No, I
Mhm.
hand sewed the
The material.
material I had
the
bought.
material.
Mhm.
The material I bought, and I put newspaper on top of it and
Mhm.
cut it out, and I
Oh, got
hand
it.
sewed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I
what she
never
would,
did sew anything by a sewing machine. I always sewed it by my hand.
yes, a couture
So you
designer.
don't need what they call a pattern. You don't need a
No.
pattern
So she created the pattern with the newspaper.
with the newspaper. I
With the
love it. I love
newspaper.
it.
So at that time, it
That
wasn't about going to the store and buying a pattern. It was
right.
really saying, let me take this newspaper, shape it into what I want it to be. And then she would take the newspaper, put it on the fabric, and create the entire piece. So the pattern
See,
was the
that's what
newspaper.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
see,
I'm talking about. I
I didn't want nobody to be. I didn't want to be dressed like nobody, and I didn't want nobody to look like my dress.
listen,
So
you ain't got to tell me that. I get it. I get that because growing up,
when
my brother has a boutique. And so we grew up modeling and being hair models, and his mom was a beautician. So there was always a fashion show. And whatever outfit we got, I would tell him, I'll get that dress, but I need you to make it look a little different. Put a split in it, add a piece of lace. I didn't want nobody to see me before I got there, like my grandma used to say. You weren't gonna see me before you got there. I love it. So was sewing something that was passed down from the family? You say you saw your grandmother sewing sheep?
My grandmother raised me. She made a lot of clothes. She sewed a lot.
Wow. And do you know if it came down from her family? Do you all have, it sounds like you have a lineage of it.
I don't know nothing about all the other parts because I didn't associate with them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
I ought to be around. My grandmother raised me. I wouldn't stay with nobody else but my grandmother. So
I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
My mother's mother. And one day I remember I guess I might have been about 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And I said, Mom, and I said, Grandma. And she said, what? I said, where you be getting the clothes from? She said, I make them, baby. I said, well then, why you ain't teaching me how to sew? She said, you teach yourself. I said, how would you do that? She said, watch me. And that's what I did. I watched her get a piece of newspaper, make a design, cut it however she wanted it, and then she take that newspaper and lay it on the material, and she cut it out, and she sewed by hand because back in then she couldn't afford a sewing machine, so she sewed by hand. So that's how I learned how to sew, by watching my grandmother.
Ironic enough, that's how I learned how to sew.
By watching me.
And that's how you learn. And that's how, is there anyone else in the family that sews around your age group, Brescia? Did any of the other grands or great grands pick up on it, or it was kind of your bond, your thing?
No, we didn't tell anybody that we was making our own clothes because we didn't want to make them none.
That's what she told me that when I was like, don't tell nobody you make clothes.
Don't tell nobody make clothes.
Because then they're going to want to ask for you to make all the clothes. And that's exactly what happened.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who made this?
Yeah, for real.
And this, that, and I'm sorry. I got this from a friend of mine. And have to ask God to forgive me for telling the tale. But I didn't want nobody to know I knew how to sew. So that's what I did.
This is amazing. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's your own bond. That's y'all's special bond.
It really was.
So let me ask you, that's your thing. That's your bond. Some people have it in the kitchen, some have it in the clothes. That's your bond.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So Miss Evelyn, when you noticed that Brescia took an interest to what you were doing and loved it, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel fine because all the time I don't mind buying clothes, but I don't like to buy something and then by the time I take it home, put it on, go down the street, I see 2 or 3 the same dress, and that
so serious.
That just bugged me. I said, well, I'm through with that. I'm making all of my clothes. Y'all wearing what I ain't gonna be wearing what you wearing, and you gonna be wearing what I wear. And when people walk up to me and say, where you bought that at? I say, out of town.
Yeah.
And did you do that? Is that how you raised your children? Did you pretty much make your own and their own clothes raising your children?
Nope.
She's like, I just made my own.
I made my clothes.
Yeah, I understand. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. If they wanted something made, go find out how to make it. Go buy your pattern.
Okay.
Because I don't want you walking around looking like me.
Yes, ma'am. That's your thing. I get it.
Yeah. If I make it, you're going to make it and see, you're going to tell it that, oh, my grandma made this for me. No.
No, I would.
And then everybody going to come. That's true. That's true.
I would buy it. I buy everything. And I'm like, I'm going to my grandma's house.
Oh,
like, let me
I
go.
love it.
I'm gonna buy these things that I like that I can't fit or it doesn't look flattering on me, and I'm gonna go take my grandma and I'm gonna have her tailor it to me so I can look pretty like I see myself. And that really also created this spark in me for innovation and critical thinking, because when I was thinking about like my body proportion, I was just this very awkward teeny girl, and nothing was fitting me the way that I liked it. So then once she started making it fit, I was like, oh, I could wear this. Okay. It just helped me become more innovative with how I see my style. Like
innovative and confident. I see confidence. I love the confidence. Can you tell me about a time, like what's a favorite memory or a favorite piece of clothing that you all made together? Like it's just nostalgic for y'all.
For me,
Copycat. Copycat.
I was gonna say I made her. I made her
Copycat,
this
yeah.
beautiful. It was a dress. It's a purple dress. I also made her a red dress. It's like similar to one
Oh,
she has on. She loves like little throw-on dresses that still make her look really
yes,
beautiful and something that could
yes.
just feel. So
Mhm.
I love anything that I can make her that makes her like, oh, my granddaughter made me this, and I love gifting her with those type of dresses. And then back in high school, she made me a pair of shorts. I still have to this day, and I keep it because it was just a pair of shorts. Like I said, were extra large, and she made it an extra small, and I could still wear them. And I was like, I never want to let these go because this is a testimony
Yes.
to the greatness of who she is and who she's
Mhm.
created me to be. Like those pair of shorts sparked my entire career in fashion. I went to school. I got a bachelor's degree in fashion design. I have a
I love
bachelor's
it.
degree in marketing. I have a whole business surrounded by fashion. And it's truly because of those pair of shorts that just took me to who I am today. And so I keep them as a reminder of, the greatness that I am and that's within me, and then the greatness
Yes.
that's next to me.
I love it. And then I can just see it. You have a large studio one day, and those shorts are like
Hmm.
on the wall. Whenever
Yep.
we go to, I have a business, I teach skincare or whatever with Mary Kay, but whenever we go to Dallas, there's this entire floor that's full of the first products, like the first thing she did, what inspired her. And I just had a huge vision of your studio and those shorts. I've never seen them, but I can see them there in a picture of you and your grandmother. I can see that
Yes,
because
I
it's a
definitely see
constant
that.
reminder that brings chills.
It
I love
did.
it.
Yeah, it is a constant
And when
reminder.
she tell people when they see her in something, and they ask her where she get that from, she said my grandmother, and they be thinking she talking about buy. I bought
Right.
it, and she
Right.
said, oh, she didn't
No.
buy it, she made
Mhm.
it, and they
Right.
like she sew. They say
Hmm.
yeah, and she would say yes, she sew, and she's teaching me how to sew.
Hmm.
I love
And
it.
that's true. It's much better when you learn on your own and you have nothing to
Exactly.
worry about. Yeah, no, let nobody tell you. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to go. So when they look at you, when you say that to you, you look at them and say, "I don't think so. My grandmama did it."
Hmm.
Right. And see, I
So
want you to piggyback off that. Sewing for me, my mom, who raised me, my mom and my grandmother, they could sew the whole sewing machine. For me,
that's with me. My
I
mama
just
did. So
wasn't interested in it. I could put on a button. I learned how to do a hem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it just wasn't my gig. But there was so many intricate lessons, life
yeah.
skills that are taught with sewing. What are some of those first lessons, those first life skills, those things that stick, that transcend beyond just sewing, that you use in everyday life? And we can start with you, either one, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Hmm.
mine was like I like to go shopping. I
Right.
like to buy them, but I like to go shopping, and I would just look all the time. And if I saw something that I really like, I would look at it maybe 3 or 4 times. I go back to
Mm.
the store and I look at it 3 or 4 times, and then I go home and I go next door. My friend next door took in the paper. When he always gave me his old newspaper, and I would take the newspaper, and I'd go home and I sit down and cut it out,
Yeah.
and then after I cut it in the newspaper, then I get the material and I cut it. And everybody didn't believe that I was sewing my own clothes. Where you bought that from? I say my store.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how old were you when you were doing that? Like, what were we talking? Teenage or?
Teenager. I was back in my 18s, 18, 19, 20. From them, I just say
Wow.
from 18 on.
Yeah. And one of
Wow.
the lessons that I learned, like
And
she just said, I'm piggybacking off of her when she was like,
Uh-huh.
"It's no right or wrong way to do it." That's a life skill that we have to continue to communicate to children because
Right.
everybody learns their lesson in their own way and in their own right. But when she said that
Yes.
about fashion, it's accurate. Like you can
Yes.
watch Project Runway, And you can see someone who's only been sewing for 6 months win the entire show. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And so it's like there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's really about functionality and how it works for you and your body. And so with fashion, it continues to inspire me to let me know that in life, there's no right, or it's not like a good or a bad or a right or a wrong. It's just about the lessons that you learn on your journey and how you apply those lessons to continue to prosper and move forward in whatever you're doing. And so when she said that, it clicked to me, because it was like, okay, well, if I want to like hand sew backwards and you hand sewing crisscross, as long as the stitch stays, then we're both right. And I love that lesson. I keep it to my heart because it allows me not to put so much pressure on being perfect or being.
Keep it to my heart. I like that.
Yeah, it allows me to just not be so perfect. It's like I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to learn. I'm allowed to mess up. And that gives me a little bit more grace. The same grace that God gives us. It's the same grace that I give myself. And that is a reminder through fashion that, it's not about right or wrong. It's really about doing it.
It's freeing.
Yes.
It's freeing. And my brother would always say when he would dress me, he said, wear what feels good.
Yeah.
Wear what feels good and makes you feel good. Would you agree?
Yes, I do.
And do you all influence each other's fashion now? Like, do you kind of influence it?
Okay, so growing up, she was who I am now. She would be this risque, love like skirts, love nice tops. And so I took on her style. And now she's all covered up and I'm a grandma and I'm like, I'm risque. And so every time I come out, I would literally like do something that I was like, I know she's gonna be like, what do you got on? But every time she's like, I used to wear the same thing when I was your age. So
right. So what would be risque? Are we talking like, for me, I always liked, for an example, Cher. Remember Cher back in the day? Her look. Is that what we're talking about? Kind of like the form fitting but classy, feminine.
Yeah. Or the mini skirts, the like you said, like tight to your body, tight to your skin. Just having that confidence in what I have on and making those bold statements I got from her. I got her style completely. I would go through her album and I would try to mimic some of her older pictures so we can have like side by side pictures together. And I'm like, look, grandma, this is what I had on. Look what I got on. Don't this look familiar?
Oh, I love it.
I learned sewing from my grandmother by watching my grandmother. That's who raised me. And that's how I learned how to sew. And with the newspaper, she would go buy a dress from the store and take it home. Take newspaper, put the dress on top of the newspaper, and she cut it out. And that would be her pattern, like that. So I would do the same thing.
So where did your style come from?
Yeah.
You change your style in your mind.
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
If I saw you with a straight dress like some what I got on right now, with this on, and I liked it, I'd go home and get some newspaper, and I cut out something that looked like this, but I'll resign it in a different style way.
Love that.
So
that's what I love. I'm still blown away at the newspaper. That's like I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, and I'm a newspaper girl. So when we come back from this quick break, we're going to touch on that. And then I have some questions for both of you about the evolution of fashion. Hold on one moment. We'll be right back.
A safe but unapologetic place to dismantle every lie believed and live in every truth available.
Welcome back. That was just a quick little insert for Touche Life. I have a question for you both. How do you both see fashion evolving in today's time? Is there any particular trends or techniques that you're both excited about right now? What do you think about today's fashion?
What do you think
about
today's fashion?
Fashion is fine, but I don't like to dress like nobody else.
Yeah.
And that's beside of me to sewing.
Yeah.
So somebody walk up to me and say, where you bought that from? I said, from my store. And they know, what
Okay.
you mean? No, my sewing machine.
Yeah.
You couldn't have made that. All right. So whatever, doesn't matter, you know.
That's right.
But
The
I just
confidence.
and then I got a lot of my influence from my grandmother who raised me used to make
Yes,
her clothes. So that's
I
how I
love
thought
it.
about doing that by me being a young girl. I said, oh, if I make my own clothes, then I ain't got to worry about nobody looking like me.
Hmm.
And now,
Exactly.
yeah,
You never
see,
wanted to pursue that, or did you pursue it? Have you had your own business, or was it something you
yo,
just wanted to do for you?
me.
Okay.
And me and my girls, when my girls got up, I sewed clothes, made their clothes. They would ask them, where you get that from? And they would say, my grandmama made it, and your grandmama never made that, and they let it go on like that. They would try to influence them that their grandmama was making their clothes, and
Yeah.
they're right here.
Yes, and that's what inspired me to create a company. One,
Right.
our generation in my immediate household, we haven't seen real business ownership, and it's very important for generational wealth and legacy building
Yes.
for in to really bring a company that can provide for generations to come. Right now in
Yes.
the industry of fashion, I love fashion because it's always innovative and creating more and more, but what I like about fashion right now is the mindfulness of like upcycling and sustainability in this world. I
Ooh,
love
good.
AI. Like AI has some features right now where you can, like she was saying with the newspaper, now you can take a laser, like a projector, you can place it on a fabric and it casts a pattern in like a laser cutout so that you don't even have to use the newspaper concept no more. So now we see
Oh,
fashion come from
wow.
us making patterns out of newspaper to us only needing a projector and the shape is shaped out for us and we don't have to have any physical pattern to create. So with fashion is always evolving, and in our age of AI and technology growth, we see that fashion will continue to evolve. We have fabrics that breathe the real oxygen in us, like the air oxygen, it'll
Hmm.
breathe it, it'll move and it'll transition as you walk. Like fashion is becoming so innovative and it's continuing to become innovative, but we are more focused in the fashion community now on not just making it sustainable for us but for the world. Like how can
Right.
we stop waste, how can we
Right.
stop fast fashion where people are just throwing away clothes. Even in my
Right.
sewing classes with my children, we don't want to waste fabric. We always talk about not wasting fabric because all of those things contribute to the waste in the world. So that's how
Wow.
fashion is innovating now and continuing to grow. And I'm excited about it.
You sound excited about it. I'm blown away at the laser concept,
Mm-hmm.
because back when I'm older than you, but much older. But when I was in school, it was around the time, I think it was my seventh grade year. Sixth grade year, they still had home economics where you learned cooking and sewing, whatever, if you weren't learning at home. In my seventh grade year, they dismantled the home economic department. So
Mm,
people were children, students were no longer, for those who wanted to take it. I was never one who wanted to take it, but I knew a lot of people who did. It was kind of like the thing to do.
yeah.
They no longer had home economics and sewing. And so it became almost a lost thought. And as
Yeah.
we became more of a techie society, more of a
Sim.
entitled society,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, we're really entitled. Um, it wasn't even a concept for someone to sit down and sew a button on a shirt. If they
Yeah.
didn't have a button on the shirt, our mindset coming up in that generation, midway my generation, I forgot, am I a Gen X or Gen Z, whatever I am, but coming up in my generation, it started, if it don't work, just go get another one.
Yep.
It wasn't really the concept of salvaging, saving. My father was a gardener, and
Mm,
he could get a rip in his jeans, which we wear rips as fashion, rips his jean, and she would go in Kmart, find the exact patch and
mm.
patch it back on. And he looked like he wearing some great jeans.
Yeah.
And now I forgot what we were doing some type of survey. Over 80% of the people in there, 40 and under, which isn't far from me, but 40 and under didn't even know what a patch was.
Mm,
They
wow.
they had no clue what a patch was. If it was a patch, it was more of a fashion patch, not a
Yeah.
patch to fix a tear or
Mhm.
anything like that. So I'm saying all that to say, in this era where innovation is coming back, especially due to technology, we somewhat have, I hate to say lost, but stalled an entire generation because
Mhm.
the concept of sitting and sewing, unless it's a career you want, or salvaging, was like a lost art. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? How do you bring them back in?
Well, during the pandemic, I think a lot of people tapped back into sewing and fashion design because they were in the house, because they couldn't go to the malls, because they couldn't access clothes as quickly as possible. So they
And they
got
couldn't
So
into
true.
afford
and they couldn't afford it. You're right. Especially with so many people
So
losing their
true.
jobs during the pandemic. And so I think that's what tapped and sparked the fashion industry back into a high gear. But how we can
So
bring that
true.
back into the community, to our youth, which is still that disconnect, like you said, they take it out of the schools, is by bringing my programs into these communities and allowing children to tap back into something they never even knew exists. 95% of my students are first time sewers. That means that they never sewn on a sewing machine. They never thought about fashion until they walked into my classroom. And so with those numbers, I can confidently say, going into these communities and just introducing it, it brings back to the community
memory.
memories, and it brings back what it is to be a designer. And then most of my
Mhm.
children, they go and they purchase sewing machines. Like a lot of the parents, they'll purchase the sewing machines from the store after they've taken my class a couple of times. They're like, oh, our children are serious. They love this program. Like they
I love
want
it.
to. So
I love it. I love it. So run with that.
yeah.
As we get ready to wrap up, I want you to run with that. I want you to tell us. You gave us a little bit about you in the intro,
Mhm.
but tell me even more in depth about pretty much what you do, your businesses, and what can someone expect when they come to you or they bring their children to you.
Yes. And so what I do is I facilitate children sewing classes, and not just in the metro Atlanta area, but we've hosted classes in Orlando, we've hosted classes in Philly. We're going to do some workshops in LA this summer. So we are definitely expanding globally as a brand with BInfluence. And what parents can expect when they come into the classroom is not just fashion. Fashion is just the conversation to open
Right.
children's minds so that we can understand what's going on in their world, and then we can build character development, and then we can build financial literacy. I had one teenager, he was about 16 years old. We did a CEO of Me camp, and that was them learning how to be a CEO and how to run a business. So I
That's
came in
awesome.
with my program, and he showed me this design on his phone. He did it on Canva. He was like, can I do anything with this design? I said, yes, actually, we'll place that design on your t-shirt or on your hoodie. He was wearing a hoodie. I was like, we'll place that design on your hoodie. By the end of tomorrow, that design will be on your hoodie. And if you go on our Instagram page at @binfluence_, you will see the reel of him starting with a design on Canva and the entire heat press project to where he got to take his hoodie home. And I said, now, instead of being like the water boy selling water, you can sell your brand. And
Tell your brand.
that is what gets the children coming back. When they see that
Exactly.
it's not just about making clothes for them to look good, but this is something that's lucrative. This is something that they can build upon. Then they're like, I had one parent just email me a testimonial about how her children did 3 sleep masks and 2 pillows. And so our next session, because I do private sessions with her children, they're homeschool. So our next session, we're going to do
Love it.
financial literacy, where they have to write what the cost of for the products were, and then how they can resell it and how much they'll profit total once they resell the things that they made. So they could just start getting that ideal of that business literacy mindset that we need to place back into our community. They can learn how to budget their money. They can learn how to save their money and actually give themselves actionable goals to get where they want to be. Because fashion is just a conversation, is just to get their mind open, but we really want to create community empowerment and have these teenagers, these children who come into my program, be able to provide back to the community like I did when I fell in love with fashion.
And how long have you been doing this, Brescia?
Oh no, I know I look young, but it has actually been almost 20 years.
My God. Yes,
Yeah.
you look like a baby.
And
That's awesome. Miss Filer.
but
Miss Filer, the other Miss Filer. How does it make you feel sitting there next to this young lady with all of this power and passion and knowing that it was inspired by you? How does that make you feel?
real fine, because I look at kids, young ladies and young men of today that wasting away from not learning how to do stuff on their own. You know, like I told a young man, you don't have to go to the store every time you need a pair of pants to buy it. Just go in the store and look at it and see how it's made and how it look on the hanger.
Mhm.
Then you go home, get you some newspaper or some kind of paper, and you draw it on the paper.
Yes.
And then after you do
Empowerment.
that, then you go get some material
Mhm.
and you put the paper on the material, you draw it. Then you go to find a sewing machine or use your fingers
Yeah.
and you sew it.
Yeah.
And then you go around and tell, man, where you got that from? And the first thing you say is, I made it. Man, you didn't make that. Well, if you buy me some material, I'll show you. And that's how you build yourself.
Mhm.
But they used to come to me, I ain't sewing. Come over here. I make clothes for me and my children, and that's it. That was it.
It's empowering. It's
I learned,
empowering them.
and I learned how to sew by watching my grandmother, because that's who raised me.
Yeah.
And she made everything she wrote.
Yeah.
And that's how I
I
learned
love it.
by watching her. I would sit down and, girl, go play. Yeah, ma'am. I run out the door, go right back. Did I tell you to go
I
play? Yeah,
love it.
ma'am. And I run out the door and I come right back. And then one day I came to the house and I said, look, Grandma.
Uh-oh.
I just told my brother, that's okay.
Mhm.
I said, look, Grandma. She said, but where you get that from? I said, watching you. And I
Nice.
made it. She said, what? I said, well, you don't let me sit there with you, so I had to learn how to. Well, what you cut it out of? I said, newspaper. I cut the pattern
I
after
would love to see that. I would love to see the whole newspaper thing. I think what I love most about it when we think about our future, um, is yes, COVID taught us a lot, but I'm real big into not being dependent on everyone else.
Mhm.
I'm not saying we never need anyone else,
Right.
but the whole mindset of way generations, centuries ago, where if you could do one thing or have one thing, and I could do one thing and have one thing, we could support each other. That builds community. I
Mhm.
look at a lot of medicines and how oftentimes, unless it's really needed, we don't have to run to the doctor. You know, there are some natural herbs and things that we can use, and it just takes time and intent and information, a willingness to have the information when it comes to the clothing, instead of putting the money in other people's pockets, no matter who they are. And there's a place for it. Now, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
instead of constantly doing that, there are so many opportunities for us to not look like anybody else, Miss Fowler,
Right.
and
Yeah, now that was
put
me.
our own unique touch on it. I mean, you can buy, I was one of those people, you could buy a pair of jeans, throw some lace on them, and just make your own style, because what it's doing is empowering you, your
Yep.
creativity, and your boldness. Instead of, a lot of times in the world now, people are trying to cause our young people, especially, to conform, and
Mhm.
everybody, everybody has the same look, the same, this is what sexy means, this is what beautiful means, this is
Right.
what, no, what do
Right.
you feel, who were you created to be? And so with all that being said, looking ahead, what do you all, and you too, as you support your baby, what do you want to accomplish together in the world of fashion, just in the world?
Yeah.
Time and money are no object. You are free to do what you want. What is the end goal?
Yeah. The end goal is to be the influence you want to see. And that is our motto at
My favorite quote.
BInfluence. Yes,
My
be the
favorite.
influence that you want to see.
Yes.
That's what be
Mm-hmm.
influence means. It is
Mm-hmm.
it's, It's showing people that we have the capability of being bold, being ambitious, and really designing a world that we love and we want to continue to create in. So often, like you said, we are limited by so many things, but my program is really empowering children to be the influence you want to see, be a leader, be confident, be bold, set the tone. And that's what our program is all about. So we're going to continue that mission. Yeah, we're going to continue that mission to be the influence and not just say it, but walk in it. So when you meet me, you see me being the influence. And I pride myself in doing that. I pride myself in showing up on time. I pride myself in showing my children the example so that when they leave, they're like, this is how I should conduct myself. And that's the mission. The mission is to change the minds of the youth by being the influence.
And not be dependent on nobody.
Yeah.
Own it. I love it. I love it. Well, as we get ready to close, I want you to shout out how we can find you. I'm also going to post it down when I post the video. I'm going to put it down in the comments. I'm going to put it on my Facebook and all my social media. But I want you to tell people how they can find you. And I love the fact you said you do private lessons with the homeschool. I homeschooled for a year or so. And we were always looking down in Florida. We were always looking for different opportunities to do with them. So especially in maybe working with the school system, I'll be able to put your information out for something in the school system as well. I know with my nonprofit, but tell us how we can find you and get in contact with you.
Yes, you can visit our website at BInfluence Inc. And that's BInfluence dot. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm saying BInfluence Inc. Sorry. You can find us at BInfluence.net. BInfluence.net or our social media platforms. Facebook is BInfluence Inc. and Instagram is B.influence_.
And B is BE.
Nope, it's just the letter B.
Just the letter B. Okay, just the letter B. BInfluence. Okay, got it. BInfluence Inc. and BInfluence net.
Yep. So it's B.influence.net.
Awesome. Great. And she is in several states. She said she's in Georgia, not just the Atlanta metro area. She's in Florida. And where? And what was that?
We are mobile service. So we do travel state to state based off of the community needs and our partnerships that we have. So we are open to traveling within any state to provide these services. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we can operate in every state in order to provide these services to all our communities.
You know, this would be so cool as a slumber party.
Yes. Oh, we have sewing parties too. Please check out our website, private classes and sewing
That
parties.
would be so cool. Yes. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Breshia, for being here. And thank you, birthday girl, Miss Evelyn Filler, for allowing us to spend some time together. Woo!
Yes!
It's a real queen birthday in here. It is a pleasure. Is there any? It's a real queen birthday. Is there anything you'd like to share closing out as we honor you? A woman of excellence, a woman who was not a gatekeeper, a woman who invested in her great granddaughter with her own power. Is there anything that you want to share as we close?
As I grow in the industry. You have any wisdom for me?
I have to show it to you.
Oh, she got to show me. She says she doesn't have any wisdom.
Oh, well, I think you have a lot of wisdom.
I told her I don't have it. I can give her. I can show her better than I can give it to her.
You can show her better. You can tell her.
Yeah.
Well, just know that we value you and we appreciate you and we thank you for this great contribution that you've given. She is a woman of excellence, and I've learned so much being way her senior, just being in her presence. And so I thank you for being that model. I thank you for being obedient and following the course, Breshia. And I can't wait to share this with you. I'll let you know when we post everything.
Thank you so much.
If there's nothing else, no, thank you so much. You all have a great night. Again, this is Touche Life. We had the amazing Miss Evelyn Filler and the amazing founder of BInfluence, Breshia, who is just taking America and the world by storm with her passion with fashion. And I'm grateful to be in her presence. Until next week, Get ready, because we're going to have more women of influence that we can celebrate and shine the spotlight on, because we're better together and they make all the difference. And we're grateful. Have an
Right.
amazing night.
You too.